What's happening, YouTube? I wanted to try something a little bit different today. I know a lot of my previous uploads have been of just Master Duel replays that I had saved for a while. I know some of those effects were not super great that I tried to add. I'm still learning video editing. I appreciate you guys bearing with me. I'm hopefully going to get much better as time goes on, but I'm not at a point yet where I can have somebody take care of that for me. So, anyways. What I wanted to do today is I wanted to show you guys a duel from the new event, Theme Chronicle in Master Duel. Talk a little bit about the event, show you guys my deck, and just show you a really fun duel from it. It wasn't a very close duel, but I think the duel was really great for highlighting the main points of the deck that I'm using. Honestly, Theme Chronicle hasn't been that bad so far. A lot of times when they do events like this, what happens is people kind of either stick with the loner decks only, and that's kind of all you see. I have seen a little bit of the Mech Knight World Legacy, I have seen some of the Lightsworn, and I have seen some of the Rika towards the beginning of the event, but I do feel like I'm starting to see some different decks at this point. Originally, when they announced this event, I thought that you were only going to be allowed to use archetypes from solo mode. So I made two decks for it. One was Starry Night, and the other is DINOMISTS. I've never played this deck before, but I thought it would be a really cool deck to try out. I'm not a huge fan of pendulums, but I have to say the DINOMISTS make it pretty fun. So I'm going to go over my deck profile here with you guys and just show you a little bit about what I built. The main issue I'd say that DINOMIST has is that Rex and Spinos with 24 and 2500 respectively are basically the biggest beat sticks you have in the deck. Can get around that a little bit with the effect of Plesios, which decreases the attack of your opponent's monsters by attack and defense of opponent's monsters by 100 for each Dinomist card you control, not just spells and traps. Obviously we have cards like Charge, Charge and Howling, which are continuous, so those will stay on the field and contribute towards that attack loss. But then also, obviously, the Dinomist monsters are pendulum monsters, so they're going to be able to place like a continuous spell card on the field, which can contribute to that. And I think the coolest part of the deck is Dinomist Charge. Not only does it function as a really solid searcher, but it also gives you the ability to recycle Dinomist cards that might get destroyed at the end of the turn by Dinomist Rush, that you might tribute with Dinomist Howling to bounce an opponent's card, which is great removal, that you might tribute for Rex or Spinos to activate their effects. And it's a really great way to keep those Dinomist Pendulum monsters in your hand, so that way you're not using up your extra monster zone when you Pendulum Summon from the extra deck. You can just bring them back out from your hand, swarm the field. I don't have an extra deck. I like playing my decks pure. I think the game's more fun that way. That's just my opinion. If you guys do read like the channel description, I talk a little bit about how I really enjoy like anime style Yu-Gi-Oh, casual Yu-Gi-Oh. So that's how I like to kind of play my decks. Pot of Riches, Pendulum Paradox, and Pendulum Halt are great for getting those Dinomists out of the face-up extra decks. They're not cluttering up there with no way to bring them into the extra monster zone. Get them back in your deck, draw more cards, hopefully more Dinomists that you can Pendulum Summon them from the hand. It's a really fun deck. You've got Stegosaur for some solid removal for monsters you can't beat over. Terran is actually a solid searcher. Ankylos' banishing effect has actually been pretty helpful against Lightsworns, so that's pretty cool. And then Dynamite Power Load actually has a really cool effect to summon the opposite monster in the other Pendulum Zone. I don't really use his monster effect too much because normally you're just Pendulum Summoning with this deck, so it hasn't come into play very much. Ceratops and Brachyon, not super great. They're just kind of big monsters to swarm the field with. And then also, I know I got to get rid of the machine assembly line. I put it in there because I knew that their attack decrease was a weakness, and being able to just swarm the field with decent or high attack Dinomist is actually a solid way to win the game. So without further ado, I'm going to show you guys a duel that I had in the Theme Chronicle here. like I said, not very close, but it does showcase the Dinomist theme pretty well, in my opinion. So basically, I was up against someone who, at first, I thought that they were using branded because of the first two cards they played. They opened the duel going first with a fusion deployment, revealing that Greguinol to get Blazing Cartesia, normal summoned A-lister, got an invocation out of it, and then activated Branded and High Spirit. So I thought maybe it was like a branded fusion deck. They reveal the Guiding Quem, and they send the whatchamacallit, the Greguinol, activate Invocation to summon Invoked Makaba, Invocation's effect to get Elaster back in the hand, and I think they got Invocation back as well. So I think what benefited me here was I think they expected me to lean heavily on monster effects and spell cards, as modern Yu-Gi-Ohs want to do, but I didn't need to do any of that. I special summoned Brachyon, set my 3 Dinomist traps, and I'm set here. So normal summons A-lister. Immediately I went into Dinomist Howling so I could use the bouncing effect if need be. Placed Power Load and Spinos in my Pendulum zones because next turn I'm going to get Spinos into my main monster zone through Dynamite's effect. He links into Artemis. I see this link monster a lot. I think there's a combo with it. He didn't do it, or I don't know what it is because he didn't go into it. He just does an invocation with A-lister and Ash Blossom into Invoked Purgatorio. Invocation's effect again to get A-lister back in the hand. Attacks with Purgatorio. I use Howling to tribute my Brachyon and bounce the Makaba. And then I use my Dinomist Rush to bring out my Dinomist Rex. He attacks with Purgatorio. I activate Dinomist Eruption to destroy the Purgatorio, and then he attacks directly with Artemis. Branded and High Spirit's going to trigger because he had a fusion monster sent to the graveyard. Cartesia is going to trigger because of a fusion monster sent to the graveyard. I can see how this could be a solid deck with Makaba because you're recycling spells and monster cards for the negation effect. So it's not a bad idea, but it just wasn't quite working against me. I drew into charge, or I can finally activate charge, so I activate it. He negates the search with Ash Blossom. That's fine. Second effect is still solid. I can activate my field spell again because Makaba can't negate. Pendulum Summon into Rex and Terran, and then use Power Load's effect to bring out Spinos. I made a mistake here. I could have brought Brachyon into my extra monster zone. I didn't realize that Artemis was giving me a zone for Pendulum Summoning from the extra deck, so my mistake, but doesn't hurt me too bad. Terran into the Artemis so I can trigger Terran's searching effect and grab a Plesio's. And then Spinos and Rex are going to attack directly. Obviously using Rex's effect here. Really good effect. Tributed Dinomist to shuffle a card from his hand back in the deck. Very underrated effect in my opinion. And then charge gives me back Terran. I can pendulum it, or put it in my Pendulum Zone, summon Plesio's. At this point, I have 7 Dinomist cards, so his monsters are losing a lot of attack. I'm getting a 300 boost from Dynamic Power Load. So his monsters are basically down 1,000 from the original attack of my Dinomist. That's pretty good. I'm going to start going into Shaddoll combos here. Shaddoll Fusion into L Shaddoll Construct. Construct is going to trigger, and what was the first link of that chain? Squamanta is going to trigger as well. He's going to send who was that? Well, he gets Hedgehog onto the field, activate Rest Shaddoll Incarnation, banish it to flip Hedgehog. Hedgehog is going to give, oops, I missed it. It's a Shaddoll Trap. We'll see it next in just a second. Activating another copy of Invocation, going into Invoked Agodes this time. And Agodes is trying to destroy Rex, so obviously I'm going to tribute Rex with Howling to bounce the Agodes. Don't want to be dealing with that one. That one could hurt. And then Charge, doing its job, getting Rex back into my hand so I can Pendulum Summon from my hand next turn instead of using up my extra monster zone. Invocation again to get Elaster back. Construct is going to attack and destroy Plesio's. I let it go through. I can always put Plesio's in my extra monster zone next turn. And then the Shaddoll Schism that he grabbed from Hedgehog. So he's going to activate that. At this point, I used Howling because I wanted to see if I could get him to trigger his Schism so that way he wasn't using it on a Chain Link. Well, I guess he is using it on a Chain Link, but not as a Chain Link dodge. So that he could, get rid of a monster that I was trying to get rid of. So anyways, he uses it to go into Winda and surprisingly doesn't protect the Construct. Charge gives me back my Spinos. At this point, I'm pendulum summoning everybody back to the field. Plesio's into the extra monster zone. He goes with the A-lister this time to give Winda a boost, but it's just not enough. Rex is going to attack. I'm using Rex's effect, attributing Terran, shuffling the last card in his deck into his hand. Not really necessary, but we did it anyways. And then Spinos is going to hit directly for the win. So yeah, it wasn't that close. I was in maybe a little bit of a bind on that like first or on the end of his second turn. But really, I just thought that was a cool duel because I think it did a really good job of highlighting what Dinomist does. It's all about getting those Dinomists back in your hand with Dinomist Charge, and I guess searching one from the deck as well. All of them have a scale for Pendulum summoning of 3 to 6, so you can summon every monster in the deck if you have a Pendulum 3 and a Pendulum 6 monster placed into your zones. And yeah, from there, you're basically just swarming the field and trying to keep your swarming on the field. I have a couple other cards in the deck that that help with here, see my deck. I want to see my deck here. Whoops, that's not the right duel. There we go. See my deck. I have a couple other cards that help with the lacking in attack respect. Soul Pendulum. Obviously, it's really easy to Pendulum summon in this deck. If you can keep stacking counters on this thing, all of the Dinomists that you swarm with are going to be big, beefy boys, which is really helpful. Gravity Blaster, also an attack increasing card. I haven't used it yet. I probably need to get a little bit more variety in here. I think Blaster and Machine Assembly Line need to go for a little bit more consistency. I had Rare Metalmorph in there at the time. I took that out for Time Tearing Morganite because I have no hand traps in this deck, and that extra draw can be really helpful, again, for just getting Dinomists in your hand to Pendulum Summon from there. Spiritual Water Aoi can be really painful when combined with Rex. Might actually not be a bad idea to run 2 in this deck, just to really kill people's hand and set them back, put them in a position where they can't or don't have enough cards to deal with the swarming of the Dinomists. But yeah, it's a honestly, as far as Pendulum decks go, especially considering that Pendulum is not a great mechanic, I think they did a good job with this one. It's simple, it's easy, it's not complicated. They loop a lot of the Pendulum effects where they can protect from battle destruction. They can negate targeting, so it basically provides all the protection you need for the Dinomists. And then obviously power load preventing the activation of cards or effects until the end of the damage step makes it so that you can give your Dinomists a lot of protection, put your opponent in a position where they can't stop the attacks, making Terran's searching effect easier, making it easier to trigger Rex's effect, meaning that, you know, if you're trying to go for game with a direct attack from Spinos, you're trying to run them over with 2 attacks, you can do that as well. Make it so you're guaranteed to trigger Stegosaur, make it so they can't stop you from destroying their monsters and banishing them with Ankylos. Yeah, I just think in general it's a cool, fun concept. Dinosaur machines, it's a lot of fun. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to give me any kind of feedback or comments that you want in the comments section. I'm still new to uploading on YouTube, but I do love Yu-Gi-Oh! I want to share that passion with you guys. I know that I don't really play competitively. I don't play modernly. I don't play in the most effective way. But I'm a big fan of the anime. I like building decks that are similar to the anime and seeing duels that are similar to the anime. So if you guys are a fan of that, please like and subscribe. I will be doing more content on this channel, like Final Fantasy XIV, Pokemon, maybe some Lethal Company or other stuff along the way. But thank you guys so much. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.